In addition, we've also tried to confront the challenge of the time it takes to get to financial close. And we've innovated using construction finance and equity bridge as a way of shortening the time it takes to deliver projects. This now means that global investors can participate in the risk opportunities across the largest and most exciting growth region in the world. We've also done it with a focus on producing the energy required to power Africa's growth, and especially an early focus on renewable energy. We have played a critical role in the development of SemPower, Kabyolaka Wind Farm, Singrobo Hydro Dam, the Djibouti Wind Farm, and investing in Nigeria's privatization program. We've taken an intentional approach to Africa's path to industrialization. We've done this through integrated value chains and ecosystem investing. Our best example is the Gabon Special Economic Zone that has now transformed into the Arise Integrated Industrial Platform with operations in Togo, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and several other African countries to grow, including our home country, Nigeria. We've also invested in the Dangote refinery and petrochemical complex that we believe will save Nigeria significant resources currently spent on imported fuel. And we think that will also play a critical role for African economies going forward, considering the fact that we've discovered that a lot of African countries import fertilizers from Europe, especially from Ukraine. We are a bridge between international capital markets and Africa. One of our most distinctive comparative advantages is our investment grade rating, and we have protected this rating during some of the world's most turbulent times. We still have it and will continue to focus on improving it. Our strategy is crystal clear. We will continue to grow and diversify our capital sources. What this rating does for us is that it allows us to remain the bridge between Africa and the international capital markets. Today, we celebrate our 15th anniversary, and we've come a long way. The Africa Finance Corporation is a powerful symbol of Africans taking ownership of our development and future in our own hands. Our membership has increased from 1 country in 2007 to 33 countries today, more than half the African continent, and spread across East, West, North, and South Africa. Our investment footprint now covers 35 African countries with over $10 billion invested. Yet now, with the tectonic changes impacting our world, we must go further and faster as Africans if we are to seize the moment to create the Africa we want and the Africa we deserve. How do we achieve this? We have to take advantage of the global energy transition, which is a massive opportunity for Africa. I dare say this is our moment. Africa is planet Earth's primary source of metals and minerals for the energy transition. And if we get this right, we could become the world's manufacturing hub for the batteries that will power the world's electric vehicles, solar panels, wind turbines, and other cornerstone energy products. Adding value to our raw materials will bring economic prosperity and the critical jobs that we need for our young and rapidly expanding populations. We've recently done a study on what it takes to produce battery precursors in the DRC. You know, DRC is home to 60% of the world's cobalt and copper. With the energy transition and the move towards electric vehicles require far more. In fact, they require 6 times more minerals and metals than a normal car. They require 11 times more minerals and metals than a gas turbine. All of these minerals and metals can come from Africa and will come from Africa. We have to change how we're exporting these minerals and metals. We must stop exporting basic raw materials. We must do value addition in Africa for Africans to have the jobs they need to be more prosperous. The challenge, of course, is the energy supply. Africa has significant energy deficit. 2/3 of the people without access to electricity in the world live in Africa. We must take advantage of this energy transition to reduce Africa's energy deficit. That is why AFC is focused on building a future where everyone in Africa has access to affordable, efficient, cleaner, and reliable power through a mix of the continent's abundant natural gas, hydro, wind, and solar resources. I again emphasize the need of our abundant natural gas because we need base load to industrialize, and we must have base load to industrialize. AFC already invests in some of the biggest wind farms in Africa, and we've committed innovators to green financing in the region to spur further development. Like I mentioned earlier, we have invested in the Kabyolaka wind farm, we have invested in the Djibouti wind farm, we are invested in the Singrobo hydro dam, and several other renewable sources that are available on the continent. The second force of change impacting our world, as I mentioned, is the shake-up of global supply chains. The COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine are only the latest reminders that countries urgently need to diversify their supply chains. In 2020, African countries imported $7 billion worth of agricultural products from Russia and Ukraine. About 90% of that was wheat, maize, sunflower oil, barley, and soybeans. Africa also imported significant amounts of fertilizer from Russia and Ukraine. These are all products that Africa produces and can trade internally, limiting its own exposure to vulnerabilities and global events. From the minerals that power the global technology revolution to the crops that feed the world, we see immense opportunity for Africa to take advantage of change and elevate its place as a global growth engine that is instrumental to the world. At IFC, we champion this vision for Africa's future. Value addition is the only way we will productively employ a future African workforce that will be bigger than China and India's combined by 2035. This is how our region will harness the power of the world's biggest trade pact, the African Continental Free Trade Area. Local value addition means fewer polluting voyages as products are manufactured at source. More jobs created will reduce and reverse our brain drain, the security challenge we have at home, and migration overseas. The third global force impacting Africa's development, the unprecedented climate change that is forcing a focus on resilience. At AFC, we are unlocking the solutions and finance to build Africa's resilience to the impacts of climate change and sustainable infrastructure that will last for generations. As we work every day on solutions to challenge we face, fresh ideas, we need to seize the moment and actualize the opportunities that Africa has been blessed with. Our focus is sharp and our mission is clear. We are the bridge, the resilient and reliable bridge to Africa's future. Our bridge connects a coalition of investors and partners to enable infrastructure and industrial development at meaningful scale and impact. We are the bridge to Africa transforming its infrastructure into an instrument and unleashing its prosperity. We are the bridge to advance Africa's instrumental role as the global engine of growth. Distinguished guests, now is the time for Africa to take its rightful place in the world stage. As our highly valued partners and stakeholders, I thank you sincerely for each and every collaboration we've had over the course of the last 15 years. I look across this room at our staff, and I'm reminded from where our true strength comes from. It is our people. We have very committed staff that are focused on building the roads, bridges, and ports that Africa needs to be prosperous. I look forward to working with you on this journey as we make instrumental infrastructure for an instrumental Africa. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for our President and CEO, Mr. Samaila Zubairu. We are the resilient and reliable bridge. How did we get there? 15 years of hard work. I look around the room and I see many of you who've put your heart and your souls into getting us here. And the next 15 years is even more exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to look at the screens again for a moment. Indulge us as we take a walk down memory lane. 15 years of AFC. Roll that film.
Africa Finance Corporation, AFC, for me is a very emotional, personal story. AFC was like seeing to light some big dreams that we had had about Africa. And I remember in my diary, I was engrossed in this thought. And I started penning down a need to have some kind of an African investment bank. The fundamental challenge of long-term finance to bridge Africa's infrastructure gap was an issue. I went to Mr. President Obasanjo. I want us to create a Pan-African institution that will bridge the Africa's infrastructure gap. The next day, I came with a memorandum to him, asking him to authorize me and the central bank. And the next day, 14th, we got the feedback back, approved.
We didn't want to set up another bank. We wanted to provide significant impact in development. I wanted to have an original strategy that was more proactive. That search for an original idea led us to the business model of project development. And basically project development, technical services, early stage financing. Before then, that capacity did not exist on the continent. We got probably one of the best Africans expertise in project development, Mr. Oliver Andrews, to run the shop for us.
One good thing that we did very early on in AFC is to bring not just bankers, but engineers, developers, together with bankers to form the cadre that would work on infrastructure deals and if you like, make them bankable in such a way that they could attract finance. And once we delivered one or two, we got the respect.
During the second term of the ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo, I have a long discussion with him about the importance of having a Pan-African financial institution. President Obasanjo decided that he will go ahead with a Pan-African institution, but totally Nigerian-driven first. It was met with some skepticism. So I went to my country, being from Guinea-Bissau, and managed to convince my authorities at that time to sign in as a first member of Africa Finance Corporation.
I was one of the founding directors of AFC. I heard about AFC when the central bank was concluding the banking consolidation process in 2005. There were 25 banks then to share the dream of a unique institution that would take on Africa and, of course, in particular Nigeria's infrastructural challenges to fund them, because there was an absence of funding for infrastructure projects.
That investment was indeed pivotal in signaling to other institutions that this company had the backing of credible investors, and really was fundamental to our being able to raise the $240 million that we used to start the company. The acquisition by Equinix signals the value AFC has made to the development of infrastructure in not just Nigeria, but all of West Africa. AFC has created a world-class company that the likes of Equinix view as fitting in their global portfolio. So I think kudos to AFC for having had the vision and also the commitment to support and grow the business all these 15 years leading to this exit event.
70–80% of the debt was coming largely from African institutions, and 64% or so of the equity was from Africa. The project development expenditure largely was also from Africa through AFC. To crown it all, it was developed and operated today by an African-led team. Now, who said we can't do it? Yes, we can.
I was I think the third person to join. When we started, we actually worked out of the Echo Hotel lobby. The Echo Hotel Suites. There's a restaurant there, and that's where we started our first set of meetings. I think back to everyone that's joined along the way. We've been able to steward Nigerian talent, African talent, and even international talent. Something else that AFC brought to the table was the issue of courage. And, to have courage in investing and in developing projects, you do need to understand risk, and you need to understand how to manage that risk. It comes down to people, the quality of people, and people that drive institutions, and the quality of institutions. The global economic construct is effectively a network of relationships. It's a network of trust. Where AFC made a significant dent in perceptions was by creating an institution with governance levels that met and potentially surpassed international standards.
There are a lot of memorable events, and sort of like trying to choose amongst children which one is your favorite. I was at the opening of the Henri Konan Bédier Bridge, which is the third bridge in Abidjan, which was a huge thing for Côte d'Ivoire after their civil war. But I think that if I do have to choose one, it would be getting A3 rating from Moody's. This is an investment grade rating. There's only one other African institution that has an A grade rating, which is the African Development Bank. And I think it was a huge achievement. AFC has been able to keep it and to leverage on it in order to access international markets.
I'm proud and honored to have been part of the founding members of African Finance Corporation, AFC. I recall how and when it all started. One night, I got a call from the then Central Bank Governor, Professor Charles Soludo, sharing with me the ideas, and he's just finished a meeting with President Obasanjo then about funding AFC. And that's how we all swung to work. Each time I think of AFC, first is the quality of people in AFC, and two is the share side, the capital base of AFC, and the shareholders one is huge. A combination of capital and the right people who know their ways around Africa, who know how to sniff and identify good investment opportunities. Well, most importantly, people who understand their developmental impact and role on the continent.
AFC is not a tech company. AFC is not, a trading company. AFC provides very long-term money, either in debt or equity, to solve very, very serious infrastructural problems.
At Arise, we are focused on ensuring that we add value within the place where the original resource belongs. So for example, what we are doing in, say, Gabon, which is ensuring that the timber is processed right there. Secondly, it creates massive amount of impact in terms of additional GDP, in terms of additional jobs. And I believe a partnership with an institution like AFC can have a catalytic effect. They bring in capital to develop it. Secondly, they also bring in a lot of strategic insights and expertise. I believe our partnership with AFC is actually leapfrogging this industrialization drive in Africa.
We have been working with African Finance Corporation. Mutual trust and good working spirit paved the way for the development of the first ever wind project that will contribute to the development of our country. But Africans must know who you are, Africa Finance Corporation.
What AFC has done today, coupled with the way it has come in partnership with the Central Bank and NSI for Infraco, I dare say that it is a success story. Infraco is just beginning, and I can tell the world, not just Nigerians, that Infraco will be a game changer for Nigeria, and the world better be ready for that.
AFC Capital Partners is a very important part of first AFC's trajectory in that it supports AFC growth momentum by mobilizing capital from larger pockets, that's the trillions that are out there, to come into Africa. In the context of AFC and in the context of Africa, we have $2.3 trillion worth of infrastructure that still needs to be built against a very difficult climate change scenario.
AFC pour aussi son engagement en faveur du Sénégal. Je voudrais féliciter le CEO AFC pour son engagement en faveur de la SAR dans le cadre de sa restructuration. Et je sais également que vous travaillez avec Petrosen et Réseau gazier sénégalais dans le cadre de la transition énergétique.
How many visions have been dead on arrival or even before arrival? But here is one. It's a vision, it's a hope, it's expectation, and it materializes. So we all in Africa must have belief in ourselves, in our efforts, in our ability, in our collective effort to get things done. And we can get it done.
I would say AFC is on the right trajectory. If I had the opportunity to invest again, AFC will invest more. AFC's investment is one of the best investments we have in our portfolio today. We are proud to be the second largest shareholders of AFC after the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the dividend is good, the future is good, and we bet on AFC at any point in time.
For me, as I look back, it gets quite emotional that those notes scribbled in my diary on the 3rd and 4th of September 2005 were actually taking life. And convinced again that if we set our mind to anything in Africa, Africa can be anything that we set our mind to do. The 21st century is not Africa. Certainly, it will be the leader of the 22nd.
Africa Finance Corporation, ladies and gentlemen. That was just a smidgen. In 14 minutes, you can't tell the true story, but many of you here were instrumental in making that happen. Now, what we want to do is, that was a sort of glance at the past. Let's have a crystal ball gaze into the future, a very quick one. A fireside chat. We don't have a fireside, but there is fire within AFC. I'm not going to actually do this interview. I'm going to hand over to a very, very capable Arise correspondent. And by the way, if anyone wants to ask, she's not my sister, although we look almost identical. It's Leila Johnson-Salami, Arise correspondent and moderator of the Fireside Chat. Come ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. And yes, Mark, we do look quite alike. That is a point. I'm Leila Johnson-Salami. I am an Arise News correspondent. And for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to be in conversation right here with Mr. Samaila Zubairu, speaking about the future of the AFC and what we are to expect. So without further ado, Mr. Samaila, if you could please come up to the stage. Thank you. Okay, how are you doing, sir?
Very well, thanks.
Great. 15 years cannot be easy. A huge congratulations to you and the team. Let's get right into it. To mark the AFC's 15-year anniversary, the institution has rebranded, as we can see, with a new logo, a new design, and also a new slogan: Instrumental Infrastructure, Instrumental Africa. What does this mean to you, and how does this signify the next phase for the AFC?
Thank you. Hello. Thank you for that question. So, like I mentioned in my remarks, we've been in business for 15 years, and we've had a very clear mandate. So one of the easiest things about working in AFC is that the mandate is very clear and specific. Reduce Africa's infrastructure deficit, improve its challenging operating environment by developing and financing infrastructure, natural resource, and industrial assets. So in the course of this journey, we've realized that we're not as well known, irrespective of the significant impact that we've delivered. And we also have some of the best people. I remember a conversation with one of the sponsors. They wanted us to invest in a copper cobalt mine in DRC. It was a very difficult credit. Our chief risk officer, I don't know if he's here, he had all kinds of issues around it. The board also had lots of issues around it, but we're convinced that this needs to be done. And we put together all the effort and the work to get it done. It took time. We did all the de-risking that was required, and we got a bankable project. But unfortunately, our partners couldn't come along, as quickly. And because of the product that we had created, one of the big oil traders came to the door with $600 million for the borrower. And I called him. I said, how can you do this? He said, he's so pained, but he needs the money. And that his concern is that without us in the room, what will the future look like? Because we have the best people in the room. We have the best professionals that understood the risk and understood how to de-risk the opportunity. So a combination of all of this tells us that our branding needs to be sharper and that we are instrumental to Africa's infrastructure development and that Africa is instrumental to the world.
Thank you, sir. And round of applause. You raised the point of Africa's infrastructure deficit, and when we look to the future, currently there are about 1.3 to 1.4 billion of us on the African continent. By the year 2050, I believe that figure is going to be looking more like 2.5 billion, which only increases the challenge when it comes to bridging that gap in infrastructure. How is the AFC planning ahead for this future, a future of such a populous Africa? And in terms of funding, what sorts of funding and support is needed for the AFC to really fulfill its role as a finance development institution?
Again, a very good question. So, when I joined AFC 3.5 years ago, we were about $4.1 billion of balance sheet. And I challenged my team that we would be $10 billion in 5 years. And they all were skeptical that this could be achieved. But I encouraged them to focus on the scale of the opportunity and our track record in delivering the risk projects, our investment grade rating in attracting capital and acting as the bridge for international capital to flow into Africa. And we all got to work. Fortunately, we had tremendous success in the first year, which reinforced our confidence that this is something that could be done. And by the second year, we're all convinced that it was going to happen. And hopefully, by this year, we'll get to $10 billion. Now, I refer to this because it is a part of the answer to your question. We need to scale up our size. I was just having a conversation now with the chairman that we need more capital, and he agrees with me. And I've had earlier conversations with some of our investors on the need for them to invest more capital. Some of them agree, some don't. But I think in the end, they will all agree with me that we need more capital, and we need AFC to be a $20, $25 billion institution. And we can achieve it.
Brilliant. And one thing that's key for the AFC that I think many people in this room would agree with is that early involvement in projects is absolutely key. Beyond that, strategic partnerships as well. When I look to the project in Djibouti, the wind farm, the 60 megawatt wind farm, and I look at that, that's a great example of strategic partnerships and early involvements. The AFC sort of taking a lead, but having co-investors that are also helping out here. How important has that model been for you over the past 15 years? And how much has it helped in achieving and actually fulfilling these ambitious goals and projects that we are seeing around us on the African continent today?
So, like I mentioned, and like you heard from some of the contributors on the screen, especially the past presidents, and also some of our former colleagues, our key comparative advantage is our mindset. We have a mindset of doing things. We're focused on getting things done. And we lace on top of that our deep understanding of markets, our deep relationships that we build and continue to develop. So a combination of all of this is what positions us for the success. It is why we're able to de-risk important. And another important feature is the immunities and privileges that we have as an institution. So most African countries that are members of AFC have given us certain immunities and privileges that allow us de-risk projects in their countries. So for example, they've all guaranteed us that our assets cannot be expropriated. They've guaranteed us immunity against frivolous lawsuits in general. We would have preferential access to foreign exchange in times of scarcity. We also will not pay taxes in these countries. All of this makes it possible and easy for you to de-risk a project and distribute that project to international capital. I'll quickly give you an example. There was a troubled refinery in the Côte d'Ivoire. It had all kinds of issues. There was just no way around it. We got involved early on. We worked with the government, introduced a levy. They agreed to that. And on the back of that, we created an SBV out of Luxembourg, put an insurance wrap around it, and we're able to get pension funds and insurance companies in Europe to invest directly in a project in Africa. If you recall, the president of Senegal just mentioned our involvement in their refinery using a similar structure. So it is the mindset that we have, our deep understanding of markets and products that enables us to always add value.
Thank you. And it's impossible for me to speak about projects that you've gone through with under or through your green bond and not in some way or another tie it back to Nigeria. Very interested in the green bond. And by the way, the AFC, in case anybody out there doesn't know, I believe the AFC is the first African supranational to have issued a green bond. And through that green bond, you were able to fund projects such as the Djibouti wind farm. Are we going to see the AFC in the next few years involved in projects like that here in Nigeria? I do have to ask.
Definitely. So one of the things that we've done is that we partner with the central bank, as you heard, to establish the Infrastructural Corporation of Nigeria. Our involvement in that process allows us to bring a combination of experience and skill to work for Nigeria. So the big idea behind the Infrastructure Corporation of Nigeria is that you finance projects in their local currency. And we think that is key for Africa's development going forward. We should always seek to finance projects in the local currency. We have a program of working with central banks on the continent to manage the currency risk around that. And once that can take hold, we'll be able to do a lot more. Now, in relation to the green bonds specifically, once we have the projects, we have a pipeline of renewable energy projects in Nigeria. There's a large hydro dam that we're looking at. There are a couple of solar farms. We actually had a solar program in which we actually got the Green Climate Fund to support. We had committed $100 million to that process. and we got the Green Climate Fund to give us a further $100 million. But somehow we couldn't reach an agreement with the government on the PPA, so that stalled. But we're having a conversation now on how to reactivate that. Once we can reactivate that, that will give us the pipeline of projects that we can direct green bond financing to us. We issued the green bond successfully. It was actually at a very tight time during the market. It was just before the second strain of the COVID came in 2020. After our successful Eurobond issue, we were able to build on that, to do a successful offer. And we think that the market remains open for viable projects from Nigeria in particular. And Nigeria has significant renewable sources that could be used as the pipeline to attract funding from green sources. We also have a very innovative treasury and funding group that comes up with ideas to support all of these projects. We are working right now on a similar project, and we have crafted a solution that will allow us to deliver. So definitely for Nigeria, once we have the pipeline of projects, once we can reach an agreement with the government on how to allow private sector capital to work more in energy and transport, there will be a lot of capital that will flow into Nigeria. We also have deployed, the blended finance model as a way of attracting capital. In fact, it's a cornerstone for our Infrastructure Climate Resilient Fund. That is also a tool that can be used to attract more capital to Nigeria. In fact, it's one of the key pillars for making the InfraCorp a successful organization.
Thank you, sir. And I'd like to stay on this topic just for a bit, because it's quite interesting since probably the mid-1700s, ever since we started really tracking carbon emissions, Africa as a whole, this entire continent hasn't contributed to more than 0.01% of global emissions. Yet here we are getting the worst of the effects of climate change on this continent. And the AFC is proud to hold itself in that regard of wanting Africa to transition towards becoming a greener economy, which is why you're involved in things like issuing the first green bond from an African supranational, etc. How significant is this when we're looking at the future of Africa and the role of the AFC? How significant is that transition towards a greener economy, and what do you envision over the next few years?
I will start by saying that our real focus is really on reducing Africa's energy deficit. That's our focus. Renewables are one of the sources that allows us to achieve that. Because Africa is so blessed with several energy sources, we can and do invest in renewable. But we believe the future for Africa is in developing its natural gas. And the world understands that today. Fortunately, there was a new definition from the EU that gas is green energy. And I think the war in Ukraine has reinforced that position. So our real focus is that Africa must not allow its natural gas to be stranded. So we believe that we should develop our natural gas because we need it for several things. So we need it for power, we need it for petrochemicals, we need it for fertilizers, and more importantly, it can help us conserve the forests that the world needs as carbon sink for the future.
Absolutely. We need to conserve our carbon sinks. It's interesting. I just got back from Taraba State, and I learned that tropical Nigerian montane forests are more concentrated carbon sinks than even the Amazon rainforest. And when we look at what we have here, we know that there's a lot, sir, for us to definitely protect. And that moves me on to my next question. I would like to speak to you as well about the role that the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement can also play now that this agreement has been enacted. How significant is this agreement for intra-African trade, and how does it help the AFC and your mission here in Africa?
So again, that is one of the most significant free trade areas in the world. We see it slightly differently. Our view is that we need to have the manufacturing base to support trade within that area, which is why through our Arise integrated industrial platforms, we are focused on how can we increase value capture in Africa. And I'll give you a few examples. So Africa has about 70% of the world's cocoa, and it's all just within West Africa. The cocoa industry is estimated to be a $100 billion value chain industry. But Africa's value capture is just about 4%. Why? Because we're producing only cocoa beans. So we have a program to transform cocoa beans into chocolates, into drinks, and other things for trade within the continental free trade area. So if we can't compete with Switzerland in making chocolates and biscuits, we can certainly eat our chocolates in Nigeria and in the rest of Africa. Likewise, about 20% of the world's cotton is in Africa, but we're still just doing cotton and sometimes ginning. The cotton industry is surprisingly $2.7 trillion. That is significant. And we've done studies that tell us that a small country like Benin that has about $2 billion of export earnings from its cotton industry can get up to $40 billion if they can move to garmenting. So our focus is we must build that stock of goods that can be traded in Africa.
Certainly. And, you know, we've mentioned natural gas, we've mentioned cocoa, we've mentioned cotton. All of these natural resources abundantly here on the African continent, in the African continent, to harness and really develop and maximize the potential of what we're speaking about here on stage today. What sort of funding, what sort of support is needed? Because this takes more than just one body or two bodies. This takes collective effort. What would the AFC like to see in order for us to get to a stage where we're looking at these industries as fruitful for Africa, fruitful for the world?
So thank you for that. So our strategy going forward is that we will continue to strengthen our resilience as Africa Finance Corporation. We have developed a platform strategy building on the success that we've had. So we will build our Arise integrated platforms to a standalone business by itself that will give it access to capital by itself. So it will be able to raise billions of dollars by itself. It doesn't need to be funded through us. We have the Arise Ports and Logistics as a standalone business, which is a collection of ports in Africa. We started with 3 ports. Now we have a portfolio of 5 ports. That can grow to 10 ports. And that will have the scale to also attract capital by itself. We are building, and you have seen that we've invested in several renewable projects. The world is hungry for renewable projects. So we're going to scale that up to 2 gigawatts. And that will also be able to raise capital by itself. We've talked about the minerals and metals that will power the global energy transition. We have established a royalty and streaming company that will focus on mining these minerals and metals. That also will stand as a standalone company that will attract capital from the world. We've also established the Infrastructural Climate Resilient Fund that will also attract capital by itself. So we have several avenues and we've built several businesses that will have capital by themselves. And then we have a long partnership with several other African financial institutions. So we're members of the African Investment Forum, which is a combination of the Bank for Arab and Economic Development in Africa. The president is here in front of me. We have the African Development Bank. I know they have a representative here. We also have the Afrexim Bank. I think they also have a representative here. We also have the Trade and Development Bank. We have DBSA of South Africa. We also have the European Investment Bank, and I think the Islamic Development Bank as part of that forum. So that is a forum that allows us to collaborate, to look at opportunities on the continent and to fund them together. So what we do, because the opportunity is so massive, what we do is we try to agree a framework for de-risking these projects, and we've shared that with our partners at the Africa Investment Forum, and they've largely agreed to it. So when we have projects, we distribute it to them. That is the component of the 3 Ds that we talked about. So we are able to distribute projects to other African institutions. We also work with our shareholder banks, because they have presence across the continent, and they have local experience in those countries. They are also another tool for us to leverage the financing on the continent. What we would like to see going forward is for African institutions to invest in Africa. It is very important that we change our approach, of keeping all the money with Citibank and JP Morgan. Give us the money. We have shown you that we can utilize it very well and pay you a dividend. You heard Mr. Elimelu say that this is one of the best investments in their portfolio. It is one of the best investments for most portfolios in the continent. So we need to see more African money working with us. And we also need to get African pension funds, invest in Africa as well. We also need to look at how we can mobilize a lot of the capital out there to flow into Africa. So I'll give you an example. You have several trillions of dollars earning low yield, although interest rates are rising now, but it's still low compared to the opportunities you have in Africa. And the risk perception of Africa is really misplaced. So most people think that Africa is a risky place, but it's not that risky. So there are several studies that have indicated that the project finance and infrastructure default rates in Africa is one of the lowest. The only region with a lower default rate is the Middle East. Africa has the same default rate as Western Europe. Far lower than Asia, far lower than Latin America, far lower than North America. But yet, we don't have that priced in our instruments. So, one of the things we want to do is we're working with partners to see how we could leverage that flow of capital into Africa through innovative insurance products. And we've had some discussion with some of our partners in the EU that they have this development assistance program for Africa, where they have an aid package. We're telling them that, look, we don't really need aid. What we need is investment. So consider a portion of your aid budget as insurance for your investors to come and invest in Africa. So already they're earning low yields. That money that earns low yield or negative yield, invest it in Africa. And should you lose it, this insurance will cover it. So projects like this would direct more flows of funds into Africa.
Brilliant. And just before we wrap up, just for the critics out there, definitely not coming from me, who, may question that when it comes to Africa investing in Africa, which wholeheartedly most of us agree with, who may question whether Africa can truly afford to invest in Africa at such a large scale. What do you have to say to those critics?
So, an example is AFC. It is Africans investing in Africa. And we have demonstrated that we could do it well and grow that investment. And we know that there's a lot more capital in Africa. And we want most of that capital to be invested in Africa. So I think the taste of the pudding is in the eating. And we're an example of success that can be replicated over and over again.
Certainly. Mr. Samaila Zubairu, just before we round up, your vision for the next 15 years?
My vision is for a more prosperous Africa, clearly, for a more resilient and reliable Africa Finance Corporation, an Africa Finance Corporation that really accelerates development impact on the continent and has built several gigawatts of power on the continent, has produced most of the minerals, not just the raw materials, but the intermediate materials that will power the energy transition, that Africa becomes a manufacturing hub, and that Nigeria in particular becomes an industrial hub.
Thank you very much, sir.
And thank you very much. I'm going to actually break the program. Actually, I'm going to ask you both to stay with me for just a few minutes. You too, Leila. So
okay.
we love gender balance at AFC. AFC is powered by women. And men, but women. So if I could ask you to just turn your chair slightly so that we're sort of back here. And then I'm going to invite a very special guest to join us. His Excellency Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Executive Governor of Lagos State. It's great to see you. Okay. So you're actually caught, this is rare actually, you're caught in a pincer movement of presenters who are going to fire questions from each side. But I think I'll begin, incidentally, what a lot of people don't know is actually when I left television, BBC and ITV News, I think about maybe 13 years ago, and decided to create a media company. I didn't know anything about creating media companies, and the first person to give me a shot, to give me a break, to give me my first job was this man. He doesn't want to come. Okay, so shall we begin? Okay, so you're the governor of the megacity that is Lagos. There are immense challenges, but there are also immense opportunities for infrastructure investment. I mean, Lagos is one of those cities that is facing climate challenges. It's by the sea, rising sea levels, flooding. So climate resilient infrastructure, which Samaila Zubair just spoke about, is what probably keeps you up at night. My question is, how can institutions like the Africa Finance Corporation play a role in helping you achieve the Lagos that I know that you want?
Okay, thank you very much. I think good evening, everyone. It's been such an evening of very intelligent investment banker all in the room. And I want to say first to comment Samaila, I think this event should have given him a whole lot more time. There's a lot that he wants to pass on, and I was enjoying, the conversation, but I know people are also waiting to have dinner. So Mark, the question is actually very simple. Thank you very much. So Samaila and I, shortly before COVID started, which was in 2020, within my first 9 months in office, we had breakfast and we had great ideas around what we should be doing together, in my first few years as governor. And we did roll up our sleeves. The first was, you see that bridge over there? Samaila actually wanted to write a check for it. That is the Ikoyi Bridge. Because that for him was an infrastructure that was already have some bit of cash flow in which they can plan on, and they can free the asset for me, and they can, I can get to do other things, build another one, or get to other activity, infrastructure activity for that part of the state, And whilst we're still talking about that, we got into the real projects, and COVID actually slowed us, for like 6-7 months, But because I was also racing against time, and I had commitments on what we've not, we couldn't agree on. We had loads and loads of consultants and the rest of it. We have not been able to sign off one, But I'm hoping that we will do that, in the months and in weeks, ahead. I'm pretty very excited with the knowledge that was in the room throughout this period, about 9 months or so, and now we're all very, eager at ensuring that we could bring something to the table. But to talk to your question directly is to say that we know that Lagos State is below the sea level, right? So that, as a state, we are also challenged naturally, and we felt to ourselves that one of the things, that we know is that cost of some of the infrastructure we have here will be slightly more expensive, than in other high-plain area, given, what nature has done to us. But we also can turn that challenge, into opportunity, right? So one third of Lagos, for example, is water. So the question asked is, why are we not moving more than 3-4% of people, in water transportation and pushing them, which will have about 33%, what are we not doing and pushing them on water? So currently we're building 17, jetties all around the state, right? And we're building these jetties believing that once we can do the hard infrastructure, ensuring that they have the jetties, then we can get the private sector, to come and bring the rolling stock, which will be the ferries and all of it. And we're also dredging. We're opening up the channelization, right? And we're also putting, control and command center there where safety and security will also be available. Once we're able to do that and we'll have the right infrastructure, the right investment on ferries, then we actually can see a reduction of about 25 to 30% on people moving on the road, into the waterways. That's one critical infrastructure that we believe is environmentally friendly and will reduce, carbon footprint that we're talking, because this is nature now that we're just utilizing, and these are all jetties that are open up, they have low energy, in terms of construction, they use the environment to just build up the infrastructure. And they're in different parts of the state, from Ikorodu to Epe to Badagry, we're building all these jetties. The other one I would say is that how do we also reduce when we have over 95% of people committing on the road? The waterway is one that we're believing that we can take about 20-25%. The other one will be, rail infrastructure. We have not seen rail in Lagos as an intra-city, not intercity, as an intra-city infrastructure, and we need to get it done. So there are two rail projects that we're believing that we'll complete before the end of the year. One of them is an electronic, line, which certainly will reduce, carbon emission and all of that. The other one, unfortunately, is still diesel, because we are not the only one using that rail corridor. But we hope that over the time, we can convert to electricity and we can sort of like reduce all of the emission. Once we also get that going, that's another 35 to 40%, 30 to 32%, maybe not up to 40%, will also be taken off the road onto, the rail infrastructure. So what that will do eventually is that we will have a reduced congestion on our road infrastructure, reducing carbon emission, reducing, the travel time, the journey time of our city.
An approach to sustainability, an approach to sustainability.
And essentially we're just pushing, so we're looking at a major infrastructure, in that space where we can deploy resources. And like it said, the environment is still a bit harsh. Samala also mentioned that we need to have, local, regulations where investment, private sector investment can come into public transportation. And that is very, very important. Toll roads, toll bridges, these are some of the things that you see everywhere in the world, and I want to appeal to my people that that's the only way we can do it. That's the only way where we can attract that private sector investment, and they can stay with us 20, 25, 30 years, and just wait, for some of those recoveries to happen.
Mr. Governor, if I can come in here, and I'm going to direct this question both to you and also Mr. Zubairu, because one thing that is key when we're looking at infrastructural development is security, and we have to ensure that a place is secure in order for that development to be able to thrive. A recent example we can take in Kaduna State with the attack on the Abuja-Kaduna rail, and this is a line that people are relying on and using to get in and out, to get to work and back every single day, and this is a line that's being attacked by bandits. Now, of course, here in Lagos, we don't necessarily have the same security concerns as certain parts of Nigeria, but insecurity is still a widespread issue. How do we secure Lagos to ensure that infrastructural development coming into the city is secure here? And then for you, Mr. Zubairu, what support would you like to see from the Lagos state government, from other state governments and the federal government to ensure that any infrastructural development project in Nigeria is one that is secure and not one that's basically going to be ridden by bandits, or one that's going to create a scenario where people don't feel safe because of the level of insecurity? They don't want to get on the train because maybe some of the rail tracks have been taken off and they feel. How do we secure Lagos so that we can actually maximize the potential of this?
Thank you very much. And we're not immune to it. We're not out of it, because I'll be transparent with you. We had an ugly incident about a month ago where a lady got kidnapped or something. There was a fatality on our BRT route. It's important for me to reiterate now. We've got about 850 high-capacity BRT buses, right? Of that amount, only about 100 of that were purchased locally. And unfortunately, that's the only 100 that do not have inbuilt CCTV cameras, right? And the incident that I'm talking about happened in one of that 100, which is the ones that we're trying to, encourage local manufacturers, and wanted to fleet, from them. But we've learned our lessons, to ensure that in all of our public, transportation system, we have, CCTV camera that is, off-site, and we can indeed see what is happening all around. But on the waterways infrastructure that I mentioned, we're actually building a command and control center. We're actually building a proper command and control center for all of the ferry services to ensure that all of our passengers, are safe in terms of, water infrastructure, water transportation, but are also safe as passenger to passenger, on the waterway. So we're actually building that, full, and it's almost ready. It's in Laswa, in Ikoyi. And so these are some of the things that we are indeed doing. But for the rail, part of the things that we will be ensuring that it's available and all of the train stations, right, there must be, very robust, cameras, that are activated, that we can monitor, and we can indeed, have an idea of, what are the caliber of people that are going in, But the beauty of our own compared to an intercity transportation is, right, they have short stops. It's only 3, 4, 5 minutes at maximum on the rail, right? So before, you all settle in, is hopping and off. So that certainly will reduce. But for the water transportation that we think people might be on a boat for like 20 to 30 to 40 minutes, we're installing, cameras, on it. And like I said, on the road, in fact, on our BRT, we're doing that. And by the way, we also just launched, a lag ride, which is our taxi scheme. We just launched 1,000 taxi scheme, just last week. And I want to also say that in all of the individual taxis, there's a 360 camera inside of each, and all of the, the name and everything about the driver is also inserted in the taxis as well, so that once you enter, it's there, you can see, you can monitor it. And outside as well, there's a URL code there's in which you just download. Once you put your phone there, outside the car itself, there's a barcode. Once you push your code, it will pop up, and the name, the real number of that taxi will come up, in which you can also report in the event that maybe it was overspeeding, it was driving against traffic, not even as a passenger, just somebody that was just, drive. And you can monitor those things for us, and we can tell you that back end, we will ensure that the right things are done, so that once people know that there's somebody that can monitor, and ask the very difficult questions, some of these things will be things of the past. Thank you.
So that was very good background, and I think the governor's response covered most of your question. The only thing I would like to add is that we must all take responsibility for the development of our country. We must all appreciate the fact that any society that we see or go to and admire was built for future generations. So we must make this sacrifice today for a greater Nigeria tomorrow. And it's our collective responsibility, and we should take ownership of that. To safeguard infrastructure is to do most of what the governor said. We know we need to ensure that we have proper surveillance, to monitor the assets, and to monitor how we operate. And there must be consequence for people that default or people that break the law. Once we can put that in place, we will become more confident about the environment, and investments will flow.
Thank you very much, Leila. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and Samaila. Now I think we're going to open the floor, because I never like it when it's just us doing the talking. I also want to see if there are any questions or comments from the floor. In fact, I'm going to call on our chairman, actually, to maybe speak first. I think we have some microphones around, some people with microphones. Where are you? Can you make yourself? Yes, if you come around here. I want you all to please give a round of applause for our chairman, the chairman of AFC and the deputy governor of the central bank, sitting here over there. And I can't, if you're with us, I have to actually ask you, where is the microphones? There, right, on the, okay, here it comes. There you go. Thank you. You've got your microphone there. Deputy Governor, Chairman, so you heard the governor of the central bank talk so excitingly about Infraco. And we most of us, in fact, almost all of us, I guess, here understand what it is. A game changer, he says. The world better be ready, he said. I want to hear from you what role Infraco will play in Nigeria's transformation, and also if there's a rallying cry for the private sector to mobilize the private sector as well. Please, sir.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone.
I think a lot of people have already referenced the infrastructure gap and by extension the deficit in financing. I heard Samaila talk about $200 billion that we need a year. It's very easy to extrapolate and find that the public sector cannot provide us the infrastructure that we need, especially in a post-COVID environment where you need adequate power, to power our factories, good internet for digital connectivity, and then just basic roads to move products from farm to markets. So this is where the private sector comes in, and this is why the idea of InfraCorp is a very timely and important one. And what we have done between the central bank, the AFC, and the NSIA is to put $2.5 billion on the table. And I can dare you, the reason that everyone says it's a game changer is that I am yet to see any corporation that failed with that kind of money on the table. So I'm 100% sure it will succeed. And we're already, and this is not promised money. This is money that the central bank, AFC, and NSIA has already put on the table. And we are actually already investing in 3 key infrastructure in the country: the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the second Niger Bridge, and the Abuja-Kano Road. And you're going to see that given that this is, InfraCorp taking over, is going to move very quickly, I assure you. So I'm sure that this is what we need from the private sector, to see infrastructure as a business, not a public good. I hear the Lagos State Governor talk about toll roads. We like it when we go to America or Europe and every stop you're paying and you're happy, but here nobody wants to do it. So it's a clarion call. Government has to do its best to make sure that people earn the trust and assure that the monies they pay are utilized the right way. But it's a chicken and egg, and I think we have to lay the eggs quickly so that the chickens can grow. Thank you.
So that the chickens can grow. This must be music to your ears to hear that.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman, my very good brother, Deputy Governor. We've been very excited hearing about, InfraCorp coming on board, and we've said to them that it shouldn't be a sovereign, exclusive alone. The subnational as well should be players in this. I know that our risk metrics are not the same. You have to completely de-risk us, and our risk profile. I can see your chief risk officer there, and our risk profile are not the same. But some of us, understands how some of these things are, and indeed, we can bring about, a transaction with the right balance sheet in which we also can be players, in the InfraCorp. I was just discussing with Samaila now. The biggest investment in the whole of the world and in Africa right now is on a Lekki Free Trade Zone, where we've just opened the biggest fertilizer companies. We're going to open the biggest refinery. We're going to open the biggest deep sea port. There's a need for us to do, a toll road right from in front of that refinery going towards the the eastern part, that will take, all of the consignment out, onto Shagamu Benin Road. There's an existing one that we have that Lagos State is doing, about 22 kilometers of 6 lane, but we should do another one. Wells will provide an alternative. We should be able to do another one right from in front of these refineries, and also that will take all of their products, with all the containers out, into Shagam Benin Expressway, so that they do not come back, to Lagos. So that's good news to us. InfraCorp is something that we are truly, really excited about. We're also almost about rounding up conversation on the 4th Mainland Bridge. The 4th Mainland Bridge is a 37-kilometer ring road, which is like an M25 from Lekki, take you all the way via Ikorodu. It's going to bust out eventually on Lagos-Ibadan Express Road. That is also a wow for us. We've gone very far on it. I'm sure the preferred bidder at the end of the day will want to also sit with InfraCorp and see how they can, de-risk and have other investors into it. So for us, we see opportunities, and we're so excited that InfraCorp has come, but just ensure that you have a place for subnationals like ourselves where we can play in it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. I think you've earned your dinner after that. Can I ask all of you to stand up and rise, and please acknowledge our panel, ladies and gentlemen. So if we have a photographer here. Thank you very much. Once again, a round of applause. Okay, we're going to move the furniture here. Leila, thank you so much. Wonderful moderating, wonderful president. Leila Johnson Salami, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the reason I'm moving the chairs is not because I'm going to start breakdancing or say something or crack some jokes. These days you don't crack jokes at award ceremonies or anything because you're likely to get slapped by famous people. So I won't let that happen to me tonight. Okay, is Will Smith in the... No, Will Smith is not here. Okay, good, great. Okay, as you can see, we're introducing dinner, so I hope you all get some dinner. But we also have nourishment for your ears as well. Because we have with us, I think, standing by with us, a very, very, very talented, very, very, very well-known. She's a Nigerian artist, but she's an international artist. And I want you to give her a warm AFC round of applause as she takes the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Simi!
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Hey. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen. First, let me say to you, I can't wait to see you. You are the treasure I've been waiting for. Do you know how much I really need you? I did pray for the day when I can finally kiss you. You know, say every day I did pray for you. Oh, in my heart, oh, there's a permanent place for you. Hey, that's my heart, it beat like do that. Baby, now you are go pick up. I sing for you, wanna be like yeah. Baby, now you are sick for hey, what tell me, oh, see, I may not give the world to you, but I'll give you what I have, oh. Oh, baby, oh, you are my angel, oh. Go to Rodney, family, oh. You know, say every day I pray for you. Oh, in my house, oh, there's a permanent place. That's why my heart said it beat like. Baby, now you are go pick up. I sing for you, wanna be like yeah, yeah, yeah. Baby, now you are go sing for yeah, yeah. Only for you it a bit like. Baby, now you yeah, yeah. Do care, oh. Don't fear me, oh. I am very, oh, very, oh. Can you see me now? See me now. Good evening, sir. Thank you. Let's go. Hey. My blessing come down. Favor fall down on me. Victory. Anything when I touch for this life, anything when I want, she not blessing, no, she not love you. Now me get down. If they doubt Mr. DJ, come on. I mean, I know there are lots of great conversations to be had, but if you know this song, I would appreciate it if you can sing along with me. Oh yeah, now, let's go. Joromi, I want you to love me. Joromi, baby. Joromi, Joro.
They know my story. From old dogs to you, I be hustle to work. Me and Siri. From old dogs to you, we been hustle to work. My people dead, my people suffer. Them they pray for blessings. My people dead. Them they pray for blessings, for better living. Kilo dale, aye ole tonya o, aye oni double. Adura lo le she o, call on daddy. Adura agba o, tishu eni badele. I forward go, I am feeling good tonight. This thing got me thanking God for life. Oh got me thanking God for life. I can't explain. I can't explain. I say, near you wherever. They know my story. From old dogs to you. I be hustle to walk. Say, near you wherever. Oh, me and see. From old dogs to you. We been hustle to walk. See, I feel like a mommy. But you man on shadow. But I ain't the one who was on. But you man won't fall. I feel like a mommy. But you man on shadow. But I ain't the one who was on. But you man who was on.
I slap police for your case. I go to war for your case. I go to court for your case. I climb the bridge for your case. Enter water for your case. I punch the judge for your case. Anything you want, baby, that's for you, baby. For your case, yo. For your case, yo. No. For your case, yo. For your case, yo. No. 'Cause my papa no be Dangote. I go slack back baby for your case. I go call MC Oluomo. I go report all of them. I go shoot for your case. I go slack back baby for your case. I go call MC Oluomo. I go report all of them. So tell me what the hell are you waiting for? If not to chop Indomie, we go chop. If not to suck it, guy, we go suck it. What the hell are you waiting for? If not to fry a cara, we go fry. If not to soak a gamu, we go soak it. Fire gas, yo. Fire gas, yo. No. Fire gas, yo. Fire gas, yo. No. 'Cause my papa no be Dangote. Oh, I delicate. Oh, we go there.
Just one taste and I'm wanting more. Shut it. What you give me is nothing. You know, tell me I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to tell you that the food will be served to you at your table. You don't need to stand up. You don't need to go to the buffet. The food will come to you. That's the sweetest food. So if you take a seat, please, the food will come to you. Thank you. DJ.
I'm getting jealous, don't wanna see you with anybody. I'm getting jealous already. I'm getting addicted, oh, I'm getting addicted, oh, baby. I'm getting addicted, oh, I'm getting addicted to you. Said I'm getting addicted, oh, I'm getting addicted, oh, baby. I'm getting addicted, oh, I'm getting addicted to you. What have you done to me? Nah, you got me chasing after you. What have you done to me, oh? Got me chasing after you. What have you done to me, oh? You got me chasing after you. What have you done to me, oh? Got me chasing after you. Can I get with the melanin? Take it easy, sugar for me. I wanna have you forever. I'm on your loving is all I need. Girl, I'm falling for you, falling, yeah. And I'm calling on you, calling. Oh, baby, I'm getting jealous. Don't wanna see you with anybody. I'm getting jealous already.
Just feel good. It's not just feel good. It's not just feel good. just for the record, just for the record. If they like me, the chop of the tomato, then no go catch up. Oh yeah, come on, I so blame them all. You go do your one kind, not before one time, I'm to my mess up. Anything you wish me, that be a passion. Bad man no they walk up, man no be God. Make them they talk up, I see they fly like a helicopter. Now by the grace of God and inshallah, we they move up. Question, but then no get the answer. 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 Answer. Bossa, do. Yeah, go sing a salad when you they move. See green light when I look at you. Last time I take a picture with you. Now my cassava way you they look. I say I know, see you wait you do. See when we go get a while like she lays you. Come to one you console. Anything you wish me, that be a passion. Man no be God. Make them they talk up. I saw they fly like a helicopter. Now by the grace of God and inshallah we they move up. Question, but then no get the answer. Question, but then no get the answer. Question, but then no get the answer.
Rain or shine, money don't buy charisma. Me, I just get my vibe. I get my vibe, oh, for life. Gucci, no go sell the swagger. That thing don't come overnight. It don't come overnight, yeah. Emi ni fada, she Baba ni fada, show me. Emi don dada, hey, Baba ni fada, show me. Juice on nice, whiskey on the side. Word of advice, slow your roll, boy. Kelege megbe, oh. Ogogoro no be vodka, kelege megbe, oh. Go to Kinche Gabada, kelege megbe. It's time to talk the talk. I've been playing this shit safe for long. Me don't run anybody more. Come on, she be around. Maruwa she be moto. Ikun she be ekun. Ajuwon lo to bá yá wọn bàbá. Kẹ̀kẹ́ ló ń sáré. Eré kí ló fẹ́ sá. Tó fẹ́ ju ti mọ́tò. You say I'm number one, but I me get the pay. Kẹlẹgbẹmẹgbẹ. Ogogoro no be vodka. Kẹlẹgbẹmẹgbẹ, oh. Go to Kinche Gabada, kẹlẹgbẹmẹgbẹ. Just nice.
No confusion, case by my blues and return now. I like the way I'm feeling now. You got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now.
Way out my feelings and nothing can stress me. The way I run the game, I'm feeling like referee. No, like Moses parting the Red Sea, like a chauffeur, me in the back of the Bentley. So I step out, all white, can't stain. What you want? Rosé, champagne? I got that. Big bag, back pain. Taking the piss, the only time I can't aim. So we toasted a good life, living every minute to the full, cause I could die. Pull up at the spot, open doors, and it's suicide. Chillin' rent free, where the check please? Couple $100 G's on a good night.
I like the way I'm feeling now. No confusion, case by my blues and return now. I like the way I'm feeling now. You got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now. I like the way I'm feeling now. No confusion, case by my blues and return now. No, I like the way I'm feeling now. You got smart thing with the stress me, but right now I'm chilling now.
Yeah. All I wanna do is jive, 220 on the highway. I'm about the energy, baby if it's good, send it my way. If it's bad, keep it private. All these haters so vexed and the best alive. You don't want to test the guy. You been sleeping on yourselves, you test it fly. Throw myself a party, then act surprised. Be the highest in the room when the guests arrive. Yeah, ain't nobody realer. Touchdown, got a couple G's for the dealer. Gang signs out the window, my killer. Life getting sweet, I know use water dilute my ripe bean. So we toast to the good life. Every minute to the full, cause we could die. Pull up open doors and it's suicide. Yeah, 16 bad, whoop, and they all by the poolside.
No confusion against but my blues are written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Oh, you got smart to it, stress me, but right now I'm chilling now. I like the way I'm feeling now. No confusion against but my blues are written now. I like the way I'm feeling now. Oh, you got smart to it, stress me, but right now I'm chilling now.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I hope you all got something to eat. And I saw a lot of networking. That's what it's about. It's about making things happen. So we're coming to the final segment of our evening. I think our CEO and president said it best when he said, yes, it's about ticket price, deals, sizes, it's about projects, it's about programs, but most of all, it's about people. It's about the strength of our people. And you saw from some of the videos and the conversations today that AFC is powered by a special group of people and a special group of partners. 15 years ago, AFC was born, and there are some people in this room who were there from the first year, and we want to recognize those people. So I'm going to ask to come to give the awards for long service. I'm going to invite our chairman and the deputy governor of the central bank. Please give him a round of applause. Dr. Kingsley Obiora. Joining him, of course, is our president and CEO, Mr. Samaila Zubairu. As our principals come towards me, I'll just tell you how this will work. We have a number of awards, and we have, I believe, 8 or 9 recipients. So what we'll do is, if I can ask you to stand right under the spotlight, right there. You've done this before. Yeah, and if you stand next to him, I'm going to invite each of them, and I think I have a willing assistant somewhere nearby who has the awards. Someone has the awards. I'm going to ask you to bring the awards to the stage now. And as I call your name, please pay attention. You do know who you are because you've been with us for 15 years. I will call them one by one. As you come to collect your award, you take a photograph. I hope I've got the photographers ready. Yes, that's right. And then you make your way off the stage. Okay, so the first award. So the first award for Meritorious Long Service for AFC in our family goes to Theo Saki. Theophilus Saki. Everybody likes Theo. He's a power sector specialist who joined AFC from the Volta River Authority on the 1st of October 2007 as Vice President Power in the Investment Division. In 2013, Theo was promoted to Senior Vice President Project Development. Please make your way as I'm calling you out, Theo. That's right, you can come, you can use my stairs. I like you so much. I don't usually let people come this way, but for you, I'll make an exception. Theo Saki. Upon successful execution of the Send Power project in Ghana, he was appointed in 2015 as the CEO of Send Power Generation Company Limited, a position he still holds. As combined cycle glass turbine plant, Send Power is amongst Ghana's most fuel-efficient thermal power stations. In recognition of your contributions, Theo, to our power sector business. You were promoted to Director Power in 2017. We recognize you today. Next. Adiotun Duke. Woo! Joined AFC as an administrative officer in the office of the CEO on the 16th of April 2007, making her the longest serving AFC staff. In 2009, Adiotun was transferred to the administration function within Corporate Services Division, where she held a variety of jobs and progressed to her current role of Associate Logistics and Travel Services. Congratulations. You are what makes AFC. Our next recipient, Olufemi Olobayo, an IT specialist who joined AFC from Afrinvest West Africa Limited on the 1st of July 2007 as an associate information technology in the Corporate Services Division. He was promoted Senior Associate IT Business Applications in 2013, Associate Vice President IT Applications in 2019, and Vice President and Head IT Applications this year. Congratulations. Our next recipient, Monday Esene, joined AFC as a facilities officer in the Corporate Services Division on the 1st of May 2007, making him the second longest serving AFC staff. Following a series of job assignments within the administration function, Monday currently holds the position of Analyst, Workplace Services and Lagos Protocol. Monday Esene, ladies and gentlemen. The next recipient got me here today, actually. Samuel Enyi joined on the 12th of November 2007 as a driver in the logistics team within the administration function in the Corporate Services Division. He's kept us safe on Lagos's roads. He's kept us safe, ladies and gentlemen. He is an excellent driver, to which I can attest, with an impressive road safety record. He was recently promoted to driver 2. Samuel Enyi. Congratulations, Samuel. Our next recipient, Taiwo Adeniji. Taiwo is an investment professional who joined from the AFDB on the 15th of November 2007 as a pioneer chief risk officer in the Risk Management and Compliance Division. In August 2009, he was transferred to the Investment Division, where he held a succession of senior positions, including Director of Financial Institutions and Advisory Services, Senior Director Investment Cluster, to which level he was promoted in 2014, Senior Director Investment Operations and Execution, and his current role, Senior Director Portfolio Management and Optimization. Here is Taiwo Adeniji. Our next, but last recipient, it seems, is Sahid Suleiman. Sahid joined AFC on the 6th of December 2007 as a driver in the logistics team within the administration function in the Corporate Services Division. Saeed, as you will all attest, is an exemplary driver with an impressive road safety record. He was recently promoted to driver 2. Do we have Sahid here? Sahid. Sahid is even safe when he takes the stairs as well. You see that? Finally, 15 years is a lot of time to devote your life to an organization. It's quite something, isn't it? We've come to the end of this because I've got your last recipient, gentlemen. And that is, it's like the Oscars, isn't it? You should have given me an envelope. Adamu Jumbare. Adamu Jambare. Adamu joined AFC on the 23rd of December 2007 as an operations runner in the Operations and Settlement Department within the Finance Division. Adamu is attested to be a very trustworthy and diligent operations man, and he was recently promoted to Operations Runner 2. Where's Adamu? I like your walk, Adamu. It's kind of a little bit, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the awards for long-standing and meritorious service from year 1. Give all our recipients a hearty round of applause. Thank you, gentlemen. You are excused. Thank you. After that, I feel like shaking a leg, busting some moves. Ladies and gentlemen, here to perform once more, one final performance for you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back the international artist Simi.
Anybody will won't fight you, may they come, they already know. I'll be right beside you, like the wall of Jericho. They don't know, they don't know, they don't know what's going on. Monagiso, 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 my baby boo. I'll be a soldier for you, I'm getting better in Kung Fu. You should know I got it, and you don't need to guide me too. I'll be right beside you in anything that you do. And if you ever need saving, I'll be running to you, running, running, running to you. I'll be running to you, running, running, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running, running, running to you. I'll be running to you, running, running, running to you. Anywhere that you go to.
When I'm looking for trouble, it's cause I know that I got you. Wanting more best everybody, oh, and it's because of your kung fu. And anytime that I'm out of control, you hold me down, you never, never let go. Munagiso, 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 baby boo. See all the battles you've been fighting, and I'll be right there with you. I may be small, but I'm mighty, and I go run up for you. And anybody waits at me, if don't be you, call it a be rara. And if I ever need saving, I'll be running to you, running, running, running. I'll be running, I'll be running to you, running, running, running. I'll be running,
Anywhere that you go to,
I'll be running, running, running to you.
I'll be running to you, running, running, running.
Will you wait for me?
call me, baby, I go answer.
Any other burger, girl, you make them run away.
And if you want me coming to you, I go come to
Oh, you wanna see me, baby, don't choose me.
Tell me what you want, baby, say I'm not in my mind.
It's me and you, baby, oh.
If you wanna be the Judas,
if you wanna be a Pharaoh,
me, I cannot lay low.
Me, I cannot do that. Yeah. I'll be running to you. Oh yeah, now, come on. Oh yeah, now. Woman, don't suffer. Don't want everybody. Suffer for enjoy forever. Say money don't like woman. Woman don't like woman. She no be like one. Assignment. So far, amen. Enjoy forever. But you no pay attention to the intimidation she dey face. No be like one time. You don't get any. If woman get confidence, woman get money, one la share money. She don't be woman. Hey, if you no got him out for time, hey, they gonna push woman aside. And you dey walk home, you dey pray, you dey push up every day. You dey try, no be play, but your hustle never pay. And you think say God, you know, just get you. You think say God, you know, just get your time. A beauty back way, ìlérí t'Olúwa ṣe. Àìmásìkò ló dààmú ẹ̀dá. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa. Àìmásìkò ló dààmú ẹ̀dá. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa. Àní ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa. Lọ́wọ́ Olúwa. Lọ́wọ́ Olúwa.
Banana fall on you, cause I'm in love with you. Money fall on you, banana fall on you. Paparazzi follow you, cause I'm in love with you. Yeah, are you done talking? Tell me baby, are you done talking? Yeah, are you done talking? Tell me baby, are you done talking? Yeah, are you done talking? Tell me baby, are you done talking? Yeah, are you done talking? Tell me baby, are you done talking? Yeah, I don't wanna be a player no more. Yeah, I don't wanna be a player no more. Cause my guys call me Cristiano, Mr. Ronaldo, I'm on Nintendo. Cause my guys call me Cristiano, Mr. Ronaldo, I'm on Nintendo. Money fall on you, banana fall on you, Prada fall on you, cause I'm in love with you. Money fall on you, banana fall on you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost at the final hurdle here. So stay with us. If I could have your attention for a moment. There's something in the agenda that actually has effectively just appeared. And this is quite wonderful, actually, if I could have your attention. As you saw from the video and also from the conversations that we've had, the Arise Gabon project is very, very instrumental. AFC has been an instrumental partner, as you heard from the founder and CEO and board member of Arise, who I'm now going to call onto the stage because he's got a special something to show that symbolizes what he said and the importance of the relationship between Africa Finance Corporation and Arise. So please welcome Mr. Gagan Gupta.
Invite Samaila to come over. Samaila, I would request you to come over.
Give him a round of applause, please. So what do we have here?
So I thought, it's very important for me to thank AFC. And I want to thank Samaila and each and every member of AFC because AFC believed in us when we were just one operating asset. And they invested in us. Today we are 14 operating assets, employing over 34,000 people directly and looking forward to creating next 200,000 people, jobs. So big thank you to AFC for that. And as a recognition of that, we just wanted to present a small memento to Samaila for that. Thank you, Samaila. Thanks for all the support over the years.
I'm also going to invite our Senior Director and Treasurer, Banji Fehintola, to also join us. Banji. If I could, wait, before you go, Samaila, if we can take one last picture, I'm very much into the pictures. If I can ask you to all stand here together, please. Please stand together. Banji, join them. So the last recognition of the evening goes to our CEO and our President, Samaila Zubairu. Thank you. And thank you to Gagan Gupta, the founder of Arise. Now you know what, I'm actually going to follow you down the stairs there. If you come this, you can take my stairs there. I'm just going to, that's given me kind of the urge before we hear the recognition and vote of thanks. I'm going to come downstairs a little bit and mingle as I'm usually want to do. Banji, come with me. Since you made yourself available and you look so good tonight, I just want to ask you, you work very hard, I know. And many of us know you, and we know how you work tireless for it to make AFC's dream a reality, not just as a job, but more than that. Tell me, as you stand here with 15 years behind us and a bright future in front of us, what thoughts were going through your mind this evening?
Well, I think it's best summarized in a short story. So sometime last year, I was going through my files in the office and I saw the very first funding plan that we did for AFC in 2010, 2011. And when I read it, I was so embarrassed by how low we were aspiring at the time. And to see the institution that we had become, whereby we're known all the way from LA to Tokyo to Korea to everywhere around the world, the name is known. I realized the importance of dreams, the importance of us having big aspirations for Africa, for ourselves, and for the institution. So 15 years after, I think we've achieved a lot. I'm hoping that 15 years from now, when people watch the video, all this stuff, and all Samaila's big dreams, they would look back and say, you guys could have even dreamt even bigger. And hopefully at that time, AFC will be doing far more than what we're even aspiring for today. So it's a great thing. Congratulations to all my colleagues, all stakeholders. We worked to get here. And I think the journey ahead is still going to be tough, but certainly we'll get there.
Indeed we will. Banji Fehintola, our Senior Director and Treasurer there. I'm going to wander, I see, looking at his phone, but you need to be looking at me, Sanjeev Gupta, our Head of Financial Services, our Executive Director. Sanjeev, you know, this is such an important day for us. And as I said on the stage, it's about our people, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, Mark. It's kind of difficult to hear so many chiefs today and then for a poor Indian to come in. It's kind of a challenge for me. But be as it may, I'll take on the mantle for 1.5 billion Indians. I think right through the evening we heard, and we heard very well, the impact AFC has created, the progress they have made, and the aspirations that they have. To me, you know, money ultimately talks. And therefore, the ultimate testament to us is the calls that we receive today from custodians of global capital asking us whether they could partake and participate in our investments. That is the ultimate compliment any institution can have when people chase you to partake and participate. And that is why it's incumbent upon us to be able to do more, harder, and faster. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sanjeev Gupta, our Head of Financial Services, our Executive Director. I heard clapping behind me here, David Johnson. David, how are you? Stand up, David. David is the director. We heard David a lot about the word risk, the word de-risk, and how that sets us apart from others. We've been doing that for 15 years. Paint a picture into the future from your perspective.
Thank you very much, Mark. The picture for the future will involve thanking our board and all our stakeholders for how they've contributed to the past. And I'll tell you, we were the first set of bankers to go into Cote d'Ivoire after the Civil War. The hotel I stayed in had a machine gun post outside the hotel. And our board and shareholders were supportive. We invested in the Connie Betty Bridge, the very first set of bankers in the country. Since we invested, that country has been upgraded twice, and the future is the vision of our board risk and investment committee. They'll continue to support us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David Johnson, Director, Chief Risk Officer there. You have a big job. I think we've come to the end. Perhaps not the end, but the end of the performances and the speeches. So it only remains for me, please, if I could have your attention, to call to the stage, to give the vote of thanks and the recognitions, our own chairman of the Africa Finance Corporation. Ladies and gentlemen, let this be your last robust round of applause. Dr. Kingsley Obiora.
it like this. Good evening again, everyone. I would like to thank all of you very sincerely for finding time to be here with us tonight. I know that this room is full of the very best and brightest in finance, in economics, in infrastructure, and that means that you have a lot to do with your time, but you chose to spend it with us tonight. We're very grateful. We don't take it for granted. I'd like to thank everyone that made this event possible, from the board, the management, staff of AFC, and all our partners over these last 15 years. We are very grateful for the support that you've given us throughout this period. And we thank you most sincerely that you have chosen to spend your time with us this evening. We hope that we have made it a worthwhile evening for you. Even though I'm giving you vote of thanks, I'm not sending you away. So please stay on, relax, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
And thank you, our chairman, Dr. Kingsley Obiora. As he said, we're not sending you away because the night is young. But what we need is a little bit of music. DJ, hit those beats.
Smalls the DJ.
That way, don't make me move that way. Me, I know one sleep for highway. Before you cross, guys, look your sideways. Me, I know come look us for child's play. So I say, them they find me. For the long time, I've been silent. I dey run am, I be styling. But they think say I'm in hiding, cause they don't know how to find me. I be on Zumba, by the way. 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 Coming to you. Say you be giant for your pocket. If you only fight for your pocket, for your pocket. October 2020, something happened with the government. That is say we forget for where? For Zumba, by the way. Man, I tell ya, I know they move that way. I know they move that way.